The only green one is Meta, up 8%. It was up a lot more. Microsoft -6, Apple -6, Alphabet -8, Amazon -8, Nvidia -17. I think it's more now.
Well, if you anchor them to their highs, it's obviously, significantly worse than this.
Tesla -35, which is a really big deal. What's your take on some of the damage here in these companies? None of which are manufacturing autos other than Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone had owned these before 2024, then they're still sitting on huge gains.
Okay,
so it's really any new buyers of these are down, but that's really, that'd be like shame on you because you bought it.
You bought the highs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, like I look at this and I'd say, you know what? I think Tesla and Nvidia, they've been hit the hardest. Do I think that their future trajectory is worse? I actually think that they still look like great companies, and it's not like in Tesla's case, it's not like their competitive position has worsened. It's probably strengthening.
Tesla's competitive position relative to other EV companies.
Yeah, and their leadership in, let's say that there's, like, if you ask a technologist, what's the next big thing? It's going to say robots. Tesla's, country mile ahead of a lot of people on robots.
Okay.
So it's not like being down 35% has changed their competitive position.
And we were just listening to NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang making some announcements at NVIDIA's annual GTC event, most recently showing off a robot there on stage. Joining us now is Cathie Akre, a Benchmark Company Managing Director and Senior Semiconductor Research Analyst. Cathie, obviously you were watching as well. Any big takeaways here? It was sort of fleshing out some of the bones of which we were aware of already, right?
I think that's really been more of the nuts and bolts of the keynote, was really just a bit more details around what we knew was already in the works. Ultra and Rubin and now Feynman in 28. That was incremental. We have not heard much about that in the past, but for the most part, it was a lot of incremental details that were relatively small.
Cathie, I remember when NVIDIA last reported financial results and we had, other smart financial analysts on like yourself, your colleagues on the street, and I asked them, hey, okay, what is the next big catalyst for the stock? And some of them, Cathie, told us it was GTC, but I look right now, the stock's down about, nearly 2.5%. Was there something, Cathie, investors were hoping for that they didn't hear today?
That we're just hoping for more, maybe more details, maybe something about an acceleration of Rubin. But with Rubin, it looks like it's not coming until the second half of 26 now. That maybe the street had been more optimistic about its launch, but I think the realism is that Blackwell Ultra is going to carry the water here for the next 12 months, and then we'll be looking at Rubin beyond that. But it is obviously a bit of a disappointment from street expectations with the stock being off today.
Tom Lee recently showcased what investors are not seeing when it comes to the Nvidia stock. He declared that Nvidia is on the brink of making stock market history by potentially becoming the first company to cross the elusive $4 trillion threshold. This news comes in the midst of an era where expectations in the artificial intelligence sector are shifting from tell me to show me, signaling a transformative phase for the industry. Join us as we delve into the riveting developments surrounding Nvidia. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
No, I think what's pressuring the chip sector is the endless drag that is Nvidia. And people felt that you would have, after the Nvidia conference, that things have historically done little well. Actually, they do very well going in, and it didn't happen. And now, when I see what's known as these zero-day expiry, zero-day options pressuring Nvidia, and people don't think that anything could ever happen like that, that you couldn't really have a $2.8 trillion company being pressured by the options market, but it is. And no one believes that except for the people who directly trade it and the people who clear the options. And the heavy pressure on Nvidia is extraordinary. No company can withstand the actual repeated machine gunning of a stock using these zero-day options, which we don't factor in nearly enough because a lot of younger people, but also a lot of institutions are really focused on driving the stock down. Look, if institutional buyers came in, they could overwhelm. But right now, NVIDIA is the reason why anything that is data center is suspect. I think that's wrong. I can make a case for NVIDIA. But I know a stock that looks bad when it looks bad, and that is the ugliest stock in the chart book. And I get that. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's down another week, the week of its big GTC conference, which you're at. It's the fourth negative week in the last 5. It's fallen 18% of its value since its record close back in January. Even though we get these news bits, Jim, like the OpenAI news. I don't know, did you see this? The first data center complex for the Stargate project, $100 billion project, will have space for 400,000 NVIDIA AI chips in it. Meta is using, what, 600,000? I mean, the numbers are staggering.
You can't build these centers and you can't do AI without NVIDIA. And I think that Jensen Huang, if you actually parse his words, you would have realized the demand is just ridiculous. He claims that they can make so many more than they could. The yield in the first quarter wasn't that good. I think the numbers are going to inflect. I think the gross margins are going to go from 71 to 75%. But right now, the stock is gripped with all the negativity that has captured our stock market. And I think that it's not like you're going to hear from the administration, we're going to, we look at the stock market, we're going to go easy. That's not their thing. Their thing is to say, we'll even sacrifice the stock market to get what we want, and then we'll look to see what happens. But look, I have no illusions. The action in NVIDIA is pulling down all of tech.
With NVIDIA's exceptional fiscal performance as the backdrop, let's navigate through the proven data showcasing NVIDIA's remarkable growth trajectory. From revenue surges to innovative announcements at the GTC event, every detail reinforces the narrative of NVIDIA's unwavering commitment to pushing the boundaries of AI technology. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
You think this was a significant enough event to save these stocks from these declines that we've seen? And at bare minimum, I mean, the volatility has been head spinning.
It has. These things move plus or minus 10% on a given day, whether or not Jensen's shining a spotlight on the space or not. Taking a step back, though, this is really the only corner of tech that Jensen Huang, arguably the most important CEO in the world, decided to take 2 hours out of his GTC conference this week and basically focus on, to put together a quantum day with 3 panels, including, folks from AWS and Microsoft Azure talking about the future of the space. I mean, and like Kate said, basically did a mea culpa for his January comments. So the fact that, this is still a microscopic space in terms of the size of these companies and their market caps in relation to a $3 trillion company like NVIDIA. But the fact that he's focused on this, he's setting up a quantum research lab in Boston. This is an important area. And when he talks about what are we going to be talking about next year at our quantum day and what evidence are we going to see and all that kind of stuff, that's very, very bullish.
I mean, I hear you when you talk about the mea culpa. The cynic in me says, come on. You're telling me the same CEO who 2 months ago said of these stocks, well, this is way off into the future. Let's not get crazy excited. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And it caused those stocks to absolutely fall out of bed. All of a sudden now at their event talks them up. And we should view this as some significant change in the timeline of quantum computing? I mean, come on.
Well, I guess, why do it? If his goal, Scott, was to crush these guys out of existence, why do it? Why invite them up? Why have them on? When I was chatting with you after those comments in January about it, I said it was a little curious to me because, as great as NVIDIA is, it still comes from a classical computing framework in terms of how it's developed. GPUs are obviously the most advanced version of that classical computing framework, but quantum computing is sort of the next step. So inherently, it's a threat to NVIDIA. And that's why, keep your enemies closer. I think he's wanting to study the space. He's wanting to know kind of like, how can we be involved in this in case there is this massive shift as sort of like a next generation step for AI and GPUs down the road. So if he was just, wanting to put them out of existence, why bother to partner with them?
Moreover, NVIDIA's strategic expansion into the realm of self-driving AI vehicles unveils a new chapter in the company's journey towards diversification and innovation. The collaborative ventures with leading companies like General Motors signify a paradigm shift towards embracing autonomous technologies for future mobility solutions. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make. So if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
I think it was a reasonably innocuous comment originally, just speaking truth. Like, okay, this is going to be amazing, but it's years off. And the stock's plummeted. And now he is out suggesting that, well, maybe it's not going to be so far in the future. I mean, you don't find anything interesting about that?
Yeah, no, I listen to his comments the way that I would listen and parse the words of a politician, and sometimes, what they're not saying is, or how they're saying it is as important, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, if that's, what you're going to analogize it to, okay, I mean, that's a little difficult.
Well, here's what I think. He was, what NVIDIA is really good at is solving big, complex, multivariate problems, taking tons and tons of data and throwing at it. What quantum is good at now, and maybe it'll be different in 15 to 30 years, but quantum is really good at solving very limited, focused problems. You might say that's not as important. There's not as much money in that, and that's why NVIDIA is a $3 trillion company. But an important, limited, focused, narrow problem is, for example, cracking into, RSA level security or SHA-256 security that protects all crypto wallets around the world. Like we just saw with a $1.6 billion hack recently of Ethereum on one of the brokers. So that's what that's focused on. I mean, Commerce Secretary Lutnick said yesterday, the day before on the All In podcast, we have to mandate post-quantum security cryptography to prevent a quantum hack from a foreign nefarious person or state that's trying to crack into us. So that's a limited problem, very profitable, very important, but it's not a 15 to 20 year replicating exactly all these big problems that NVIDIA is solving. I think that's where you can have your cake and eat it too. You can be long NVIDIA and you can be long some of these quantum names.
As we draw the curtains on this enthralling narrative, one thing is clear. NVIDIA is not just a stock. It's a beacon of technological advancement poised to redefine the future. With forecasts predicting exponential growth and market dominance, investing in NVIDIA remains a sure choice. But what do you think? Share your thoughts. Finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.